Ladies and gentlemen, Pospsil.
Let's see. It's the summer before I turned 16, and I was madly in love with John Bon Jovi. I don't know if you guys remember Bon Jovi. I had just seen him in a concert. He came flying out over the stage right above me. I had a poster from that concert on my bedroom door, and I would kiss him goodbye every morning before I went to school. I always would put on my lipstick and kiss him right in the same spot, right on his neck, right about here. Sometimes on his cheek if I was feeling naughty, but usually right there on the neck. He had, in this picture, this soft pink background, all these scarves, and this hair, you know. Bon Jovi always had that fucking hair that was just, when you're 15, it's amazing. Anyway, so I was madly in love with John Bon Jovi. Well, I grew up in this little town in Ohio, and we had about 20, 30,000 people total in our little town. And what we did for fun there as teenagers, besides farming, was really to go to the county fair. And that's what we did in the summer. 1 week out of every summer, you'd see everybody you knew, as well as some people you didn't know from surrounding counties and other areas. And you'd all go to the fair and have a good time. And so there it is, the summer before I turned 16. And I'm walking into the fair with my friends, my girlfriends and I. We'd all gotten on our best little outfits and our spandex and had our hair done up. We were ready to go to the fair. Because that's what you did when you grew up in Ohio. And so there we are at the fair walking around, and there, as if a gift from God, walking down the midway at the Clark County Fair, is John Bon Jovi. Only, it's not really John Bon Jovi. But to a 15-year-old girl who kissed his poster every morning, it was Bon Jovi. He had the hair. He had the hair. He had the hair. He was wearing the spandex. He even had scarves, and he was surrounded by all these other boys. And it's like I could hear Bad Medicine playing as they came walking down the midway in my head. And I kept thinking, oh, it's like that moment when he flew out over stage. And so he walked down, and I'm there with my friends. And at the time, I was like 120 pounds, soaking wet, 6 foot tall, very awkward 15-year-old girl. And he walked over to me, of all the girls in the place, not my friends, me. He came over to me and he said hello. So we proceeded to, talk to him a little bit. We followed him around the fairgrounds. We saw they were sneaking whiskey into their Cokes. They were having a good time. They were much older, which was also very compelling when you're 15 years old and you live in Ohio and you're in love with Bon Jovi. So Bon Jovi and I hit it off. So, I was 15. And he started taking me out with him to different places. We'd go to parties. We'd go watch this band play. His friends that were all sparkly and awesome with their spandex and their hair. They were in this metal band called They mentioned me in their tape once. I'm kind of famous. Anyway. So I even have their T-shirt too. Signed, by the way. So we used to hang out with They were always up to no good. They were in a metal band. I mean, that's what metal bands did. They were always up to no good. They lived up to the hype, in other words. So this house we would hang out in, we'd go over to this guy's house where, I'm just going to call him Bon Jovi, where Bon Jovi lived or crashed. I don't think he really lived anywhere. I think it was just kind of, there's a mattress, I'm going to crash there. It's a party. It was always a party. So feel free to do that during the story. There you go. Now you're in the spirit with me. Okay. So we would go to this house, the guy who owned the house, his name, I'm going to give you his name because I've never forgotten it because it was ridiculous. And lived in this house. It was on that street that my mother always warned me about. Don't go down that street. That street's dangerous. And it was in one of those houses that my mother would always drive by and go, you don't want to go in houses like that. Those houses are bad news. See those people hanging out on the porch? That can't be any good. Look at them. They have bad teeth. So, I know, that was my mother. So, Bon Jovi would take me to these houses, which were fabulous because my mom didn't want me to be there. And we'd go into these houses that were just filled with, the metal band their girlfriends and all that fun stuff. Everybody would be drinking and carrying on and God only knows what. People would be having sex in one room over here and doing something over there. And Bon Jovi had his little room with his bed, and we'd go in there and make out and have a good time. And every once in a while, the party would get really, really exciting and really fun and really loud, and the cops would come. And whenever the cops would come, somebody would yell, "Get the minors!" And everybody that was underage would have to run to the back of the house and go into this closet. So we hid in the closet. Yeah, it was cool. That's right. I was living the lifestyle. It was like that the whole time. And so we'd go into this minor, we dubbed the minor closet. And so whenever the cops came, you go into the minor closet. Minor closet, this was like one of those big old Victorian houses that were not well kept. And it was one of those closets that was actually a room under the stairs, you know? So it was huge. It was like the size of a probably 6x8 or something room, really big. So in that room, there was like an old mattress and bags and bags and bags full of beer cans. And it was always dark in there, but the mattress was positioned upright just so that you could walk behind it and hide. So if the police came and went through the whole house, you could hide behind the mattress and shift the bottle of beer cans just right so nobody could see you, even if they looked for you in the closet. So we would hide in there, and I got to know a few people hiding in the minor closet, a few other minors like myself. One was a girl that was in there with me often, Mindy, with blonde hair. She was this tiny little thing. I found out she was actually a year younger than me. So 14, I think, was about what she was. And Mindy would come into the minor closet, you know, minor, cops are here. Everybody run to the minor closet. It was like, you know, sometimes it was kind of fun. We're going to go in the closet. So, you know, you get a few beers into a 15-year-old and everything is fun. So, yeah, exactly. Thank you. I forgot. We're still there. We were still. So anyway, we'd hang out in the minor closet. I got to know Mindy a little bit. She was a year younger than me. She had this cute blonde hair. She was this tiny little petite thing. She was like that perfect girl that I always thought I wanted to be, because I was like this big, gawky, you know, arms and legs and red hair, and always felt awkward in my own skin. And I always stood kind of hunched over like this when I was younger, so I wouldn't really look 6 feet tall. I always told everybody I was 5'11". I'm actually 6'1", but I didn't want to be 6 feet tall. It took me until I was like 22 to admit that. I'm 6 feet tall. So Mindy and I would hang out thank you, yeah. Mindy and I would hang out in the closet together, and, you know, we'd hang out in there till the cops left. When the cops left, then we could go back out and enjoy the rest of our time partying with the rock stars. And so after a while, you do this, you know, a few times, whatever. And then one night I was there. I had shown up with Bon Jovi. We were there. And he used to always tell me, you know, stick close to me. Don't get too far away. You know, I don't trust some of these guys around here, whatever. And so I kind of, yeah, whatever. I always kind of stayed wherever he was anyway, because he was, you know, he had that hair. So one night I had been rushed into the minor closet, and I had seen Mindy earlier, but she wasn't in the minor closet with me, and I couldn't figure out why she wasn't in there. And then I got the knock on the door telling me it was okay to come out. So I came out of the minor closet, and I was looking around, and I couldn't find Bon Jovi anywhere. He wasn't upstairs. He wasn't crashed out in his room. He was just nowhere really to be found. Couldn't find him. So I went looking for him, and there was like a party going on in the basement, a separate party, a party that I had not been invited to, that seemed like it must have been much more rock and roll. So I went looking for him down in the basement to see what was going on down there. And as I got to the beginning, I see the basement, you know, and it's like one of those basements in those old houses in Ohio, and it's damp and it's ugly and it's not finished at all. It's just, you know, it's gross. But there's music, there's metal music, and there's a good time happening down there. I'm definitely sure of that. So I start to go down the steps, and I can hear a couple of the guys that I know over in the corner by the bed, and I can hear a couple other guys over here. And I'm not really sure what's going on as I'm coming down the stairs, so I kind of slowed down. And then I get down the stairs, and I'm looking to the back of the room, and I don't see anybody back there. And I look over here, and I see a couple of guys, and one of them's got no pants on, and the other one's pulling his pants down. And I look over on the bed, and there's Mindy, and she's laying there, and she's tiny, and she's got her blonde hair, and she's passed out on the bed. And those rock and roll guys were over there with her. One of them with his pants down, the other one waiting for the next turn. And I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of stunned, and I stood there. And then Bon Jovi came over to me, and he took me, and he put his hand on my back, and he said, "Let's go upstairs. You shouldn't be down here." And he guided me up the stairs. And as we were going up those stairs, it was then that I realized he was not Bon Jovi. He was a creepy 24-year-old guy who was having sex with a 15-year-old girl and hiding her in a closet to keep him from getting busted by the cops. Now, I don't exactly know what happened to Mindy or what happened to her story. The story I got from everybody was she was a slut and she was doing whatever. I was not the kind of girl at that time who could go over there and help her and turn around and take her out of that room and get her away from there. I'm a mother now. I have a teenage daughter who's just a couple years away from the age I was at that time. And now, the thing that makes me sleep at night now is that I know that I'm raising the kind of girl who would never be in that house, because I would kick her ass if I ever found her in the house. Oh my gosh, she would never have a phone again. She would never be in that house. And if she was, she's the kind of girl who would go over there and she would make sure that that girl got off that bed, got out of that house, and made it somewhere safe, and she would take care of her because she has those skills and she could do that. So that's how I'm able to sleep at night. Thank you.